Welcome into the Solo Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Manna, and happy World Series Day. Oh my goodness. This is a heavyweight fight for the ages. And while I predicted a Subway Series, I am, like I said, when I picked the Mets-Dodgers series, if the Mets don't continue this miraculous run that I've been such a big fan of, it's a great consolation prize for Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and the Los Angeles Dodgers to make it to the World Series, to face the New York Yankees for the first time since 1981. Epic, epic, epic. But before we get into all that, there's a connection to the 1981 World Series, unfortunately, and that is Fernando Mania, Fernando Valenzuela, passed away earlier this week at the age of 63. Fernando was dealing with health problems, and it was really, really sad for people to hear this news, but it wasn't necessarily unexpected from those closer to the situation that his time was limited at this point in his career. But I just hate how whenever a baseball legend passes away that isn't in the Hall of Fame, the number one talking point is put him in the Hall of Fame. Fernando Valenzuela had a good career. 41.5 WAR, 173 wins, a 3.54 ERA, 5 All-Stars, a Rookie of the Year, and Cy Young in that 1981 magical Fernando Mania season. Over 2,000 strikeouts. He was a good pitcher. But the peak dominant years were just too short. And I don't think people realize those first 8 or 9 starts that Fernando Valenzuela had in the big leagues, where he had, I believe, 6 or 7 complete games in his first 8 starts, and he had a .50 ERA. He took the league by storm. Paul Skeens has caught a lot of headlines this year for his run prevention, the strikeout ability, and everything like that. But Fernando Valenzuela was a different monster, because while there were plenty of Hispanic baseball fans, Fernando Valenzuela, being a Mexican-born pitcher and playing in Los Angeles, which has a huge Hispanic population, it added a whole cultural impact phenomenon to the sport of baseball. And that really just busted the door wide open for all the different amazing cultures and communities that baseball takes everything they can from today. Fernando Valenzuela was finally kind of like that last straw that broke the camel's back, starting with obviously Minnie Minoso and Roberto Clemente early on as some of the first Hispanic-born players to be stars. Fernando Valenzuela was kind of that final push towards, the Hispanic community fully getting into the sport of American baseball. And that magical season where he won the Rookie of the Year and the Cy Young in the same season, he was the first player to do that. 13-7 record, 2.48 ERA. He started 25 games and completed 11 of them. 8 of those complete games were shutouts. He led the league with 192 and a third innings pitched and 180 strikeouts. He only gave up 11 home runs and only walked 61 batters. Really, really great stuff. He was 35% better than the league average that year, 135 ERA plus, and was just really, really solid. Made one of his 6 straight All-Star appearances, from 81 to 86. That was really Fernando Mania. Was during those years. He was a huge guy to chase in baseball card packs. He was a huge guy to buy jerseys of, and he was making fans all over the nation and all over the world. Like I said, because of that Hispanic fusion, that culture impact that Fernando had. And I'm glad that the Dodgers will be sporting 34, Fernando patches during the World Series for him. I think that is super deserving. He deserves to be in the Dodgers Hall of Fame. He deserves to have memorabilia of his in the Hall of Fame. But let's not make it about the Hall of Fame for a guy who didn't put together that kind of career. Let's just thank him for what he did for the sport of baseball and hope that we can look back at Fernando Mania from 81 to 86 as, like I said, that final straw that broke open the modern game where Hispanic culture is at the forefront, where a big chunk of the league is from different Latin American countries. And Fernando Valenzuela was a huge catalyst to finally get that overboard as a modern star with television and all these different things to get the game out there more. Now, we didn't have as close of championship series as I was hoping. I picked the Mets to win in 6 games. They lost in 6 games. I picked the Yankees to win in 7 games, and they won in 5. But there are definitely some things of note from both series. The first one is the Yankees Guardians, because I think there's a little bit less to say with that series. I did think the Guardians were going to put up more of a fight, and they did show that fight. But the Guardians have built their roster this year with the sole intention of the bullpen carrying them. And when your top guys, Gaddis, Smith, and Clase, aren't able to deliver in those high leverage moments, and they have these disaster innings and give up these big home runs and big hits and rallies, walk guys when they're very unlikely to based on their statistics prior, it's really hard to, be competitive and to drag out the series 6-7 games. That John Kenzie Noel pinch hit homer in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs to tie the game was an absolutely epic moment for Guardians fans, as well as Noel, who's big Christmas and has Santa guys dressed up like Santa Claus all over Cleveland. So there were some moments with this Guardians championship series, but the bullpen was the recipe, and they didn't have a back plan. So unfortunately, they were not able to do what they needed to do to make this a competitive series, and the Yankees took advantage of every single opportunity they gave to them, which included a really strong start from Garrett Cole, who now through 20 postseason starts has an ERA under 3. I know he's done really bad in his starts against the Red Sox in the postseason, but otherwise he's actually been pretty damn solid in the postseason. Aaron Judge, as usual, did not have the best postseason series. He had that big home run off of Class A, which I think distracted a lot from it, but he batted 167 in the CS. Juan Soto, the best one-year rental in maybe my lifetime, and definitely in many years. A guy who I picked to win the MVP, had an MVP level season, but not better than Judge's regular season. But he's been there. Juan Soto has been there in these big moments, won a championship, and had these high leverage at bats as a 19-year-old. Now he's more seasoned. Now he's one of the best hitters, if not the best hitter in the game of baseball. And he was totally on Gaddis in extra innings. And that 3-run home run wasn't a question of if, it was a question on what pitch was going to do it to him on. But the real story of legacy with the Yankees is Giancarlo, formerly Mike Stanton. 4 hits in CS, all home runs, 3 of which came at really big moments to give the Yankees the lead or pad their lead or to tie the game. Giancarlo Stanton, through 36 postseason games, has 16 home runs and 36 RBIs. He is a legitimate postseason performer. He is on pace, if the Yankees can finish the job here, and he's a big part of it, to go down as a postseason legend. And as a guy whose real case for the Hall of Fame is, can he hit 500 home runs clean? This postseason heroics and this run that he's been on as a Yankee in the postseason, when the games matter, and Judge is not quite the same, will do wonders for his legacy, for his Hall of Fame consideration. And I got to tell you, as a guy who was always a big Giancarlo Stanton fan, I was super upset when Derek Jeter sold him to the Yankees for pennies. It really sounds different when the ball comes off his bat. One of the hardest hitters I've ever seen, and a guy who is always looking to do damage every single time he's up at the plate. Truly, truly special. On the NL side, the Mets just ran out of gas. I do think getting just completely mowed down by Flaherty in game 1 was a big momentum killer. They were able to smack back in game 2, and then game 3 they got smacked, and that was kind of it for me. I figured the series was over right then and there. They did do everything they could in game 5 to force a game 6, but game 6, it was all Dodgers. And I just want everyone to appreciate this Mets run. It's in the same kind of light as like a Josh Hamilton taking over Yankee Stadium during the home run derby, but he wasn't the one that actually won. The Mets won this postseason in a lot of ways. They were so electric to watch. They had so many big moments. And even against teams that were just way better talent-wise, top to bottom, the Phillies and the Dodgers, they held their ground. They were competitive, and they put the brakes on some of these guys. Even if it was for just single games, they put the brakes on two of the best teams in baseball, when a lot of people, including myself, did not pick them to make the playoffs before the season started. The Mick Mets run is going to be one that I hold close to my heart and remember for a long time, and I hope all the Mets fans out there do as well. Pete Alonso may not be a Met after this. I do think the postseason heroics make it higher odds that he resigns, but even if he doesn't, Steve Cohen's going to invest in this team. He's going to get starters out there that, no offense to Sean Manaea and Luis Severino, but are a little higher profile than those. And the Mets are going to be back next year, right in the thick of playoff consideration for me. And they should be for all of you out there as well. The Dodgers, though, total class act. Dave Roberts, the one thing I've seen in his postseason career is mistakes with leaving pitchers out there too long and or bullpen decisions. And I have to give him credit where it's due. He made phenomenal decisions with his bullpen, whether it was having Brett Honeywell stay out there for 4 2/3 innings to just give his bullpen a break so they could have a bullpen game the next game. All the different leverage situations where he brought someone in for specific matchups went relatively in the Dodgers' favor. And Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, they're great. Freddie Freeman didn't play the final 2 games. Tommy Edman was the championship series MVP with 11 RBIs, hit over 400. This Dodgers lineup is deep. It is completely deep. And the fact that they have those MVP level players at the top of the lineup, it makes it really, really scary. And why I'm not upset that the Mets lost, because we're going to see a really, really good team playing in the World Series. And Shohei Ohtani, 6 years in Los Angeles with the Angels, no playoff appearances, first year with the Dodgers, 50-50 regular season record-breaking, MVP on the way, and he's going to the damn World Series. This is so great for the game of baseball. I know I've seen a lot of people already talk about the outrageous ticket prices, and they sold out online in like 7 minutes for game 1. And, you know, this is what happens when you get what the people want, what baseball wants. This top end marquee both these franchises are storied, both these franchises are high paying, and both these franchises possess some of the top 10 players in the sport. And that is everything you could want for the game of baseball. I think that this series has the potential to be the most box office World Series of my lifetime. And I'm saying that knowing that I have decades more to see. Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani at the top of their powers. The two players that have led the league in home runs have not matched up in the World Series in over 40 years. The two top definitive best players in baseball haven't matched up in a fall classic since 1980 when George Brett took on Mike Schmidt. And the star power, like I said, this is going to be the first World Series ever, if Freddie Freeman plays, which it's looking like he's going to be on the roster and play, featuring 5 former MVP winners: Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Judge, and Stanton. It also has the potential to have 7 Hall of Famers play in this series, with the likes of Juan Soto and Garrett Cole, both well on their way to the Hall of Fame. This is what you want to see. This is great for the game of baseball. And even as a Red Sox fan, I cannot deny my excitement to watch this heavyweight fight. I think that there's some really interesting decisions to make here, because you can argue tit for tat at the top of the talent. The Yankees and Dodgers are dead even, coin flip. But when you look at the Yankees 5 through 9 in the lineup versus the Dodgers 5 through 9 in the lineup, the Dodgers are pretty freaking deep. Even guys like Andy Pages are being very, very useful at this point in the season. You look at the bullpens. Luke Weaver has emerged as a guy, and Aaron Boone's done a good job with that bullpen, but the Yankees bullpen doesn't have the same stuff and talent that the Dodgers bullpen has, especially with Vesia being back and the potential of Graterol pitching as well. They have just guys for days that can give you good quality innings and neutralize threats. And Dave Roberts has shown me this postseason that he can utilize them. 2 series now of evidence that he's doing a good job with the matchups and making sure guys come out at the right time. So it is very exciting. The one clear edge, I think, in this series, without a doubt, is the Yankees starting pitching. Jack Flaherty has been great this postseason, has also been awful this postseason. Walker Buehler has had blow-up innings and has had stretches of old school Walker Buehler. Yamamoto has shown you really good stuff the last couple times out, but he's basically on an innings limit. The Yankees throw Garrett Cole out there, who, like I said, through 20 postseason starts, ERA under 3. Really solid. Especially when you're facing the Dodgers, who are scoring 6 runs a game this postseason. Carlos Rodon is getting paid to be that top-of-the-line guy. And against Cleveland, he showed up. If you get that Carlos Rodon in the World Series, left on left against Freeman, Ohtani, Muncy, and you can take 1 or 2 of those first 2 games, the Dodgers will be on the back pedal. And that's not even mentioning guys like Clark Schmidt, Marcus Stroman, Nestor Cortez, who are all going to be on the roster, and whether they're starting or coming out of the bullpen, are good arms. This decision has not come easy, because I do have biases here. I am a huge fan of Mookie Betts, and I've kind of documented that on this show. I'm also a Red Sox fan, so as much as I love to see good baseball, I'm not necessarily rooting for the Yankees. But I always try to be objective and just give you, based on the matchups, what I think is going to happen in the World Series. And I got to tell you, the more I think about it, the more I just have to give the edge to the Dodgers. And it's simply because of depth. Yes, the Yankees starting pitching can keep them in it, but if Dave Roberts is able to maneuver through the Soto, Judge, Stanton part of the lineup the couple times a game that comes up with limited damage, let Volpe, let Rizzo, let Verdugo, let Chisholm try to beat you. Those guys have all had moments. Rizzo had a great championship series at over 400. But those guys don't scare me as much as Tommy Edmonds and Kike Hernandez and Andy Pajes and Will Smith and all these just dogs that the Dodgers have at their disposal. Their bullpen just has so much nasty talent, and pitching often wins championships. It will not shock me if the Yankees are able to make this a real series. I want this to be a competitive series. I don't want it to be like Dodgers Mets where it's just knockout for knockout. But I just think the Dodgers' depth is relentless, and they're going to make the most of their opportunities. With runners in scoring position this postseason, the Dodgers have the highest batting average of all teams. When there are ducks on the pond, these guys deliver. From Shohei Ohtani all the way to the Andy Pajes of the world. And that's going to be a problem for this Yankees bullpen that hasn't faced an offense this good all postseason. The Yankees haven't beaten a non-AL Central team in the postseason since 2019. It's been half a decade. And I just don't think that they have enough in this close matchup for me to tilt the scale slightly on their side. Will it shock me if Garrett Cole throws a couple gems, Carlos Rodon throws one good game, and the Yankees end up taking the series? It won't shock me. But I just objectively looking at the depth there, I cannot pick it. So I have the Dodgers winning this series in 6 games. I think Max Muncy is going to be your World Series MVP. And I think this World Series is truly has lots of legacy on the line. Not only for Shohei Ohtani, who's trying to turn the tide in his career as a player that never played in the postseason to a player that wants to be at the top of the mountain. He's going to be a 3-time MVP, and now he has the opportunity to be a World Series champion. I think that's huge for the sport. Mookie Betts, who won in 2020 with the Dodgers, but is now looking to win his first 162 game season World Series. I know that's a big deal for him. There's less stigma around that. And he's going to play more years as a Dodger than a Red Sox, though. So this is a time where if he steps up and hits above his career averages in the postseason with the Dodgers, he can, right the ship and become that LA sports legend. Freddie Freeman has won with the Braves, but hasn't won with the Dodgers. So being able to win with 2 storied franchises for a guy that some people see as a borderline Hall of Fame candidate, I think he's a pretty obvious Hall of Famer, will be huge for his legacy. Yamamoto, who I think with the way pitchers are looked at now, it's about just high-end peak for him to win a World Series his rookie year and be someone that pitches some important innings in that. I think that's really good for his legacy here, starting things off well in MLB. And then on the Yankee side, Garrett Cole, has pitched in World Series, but hasn't won one. He's got a Cy Young in his trophy case now. The other big thing that he's missing, other than just adding more stats and strikeouts, is the World Series championship. And with the contract that he was given, much like Yamamoto, paying off that championship with a ring is really important. David Price with the 2018 Red Sox comes to mind as a recent example for me that made that contract a lot more stomachable. Aaron Judge maybe has the most on the line of any player. The Yankee captain stayed in New York, and this is the best supporting cast he's had in quite a few years. So to get it done now while he has the opportunity is important because you don't get a guarantee to come back. There's been plenty of players throughout sports that have only appeared in one World Series or one Super Bowl or one NBA Finals and never been back. So Aaron Judge, while you have Juan Soto and have this core around you, you got to step up. You haven't been the same guy in the postseason in your career, and this is an opportunity for you to be. And if Aaron Judge is 75% of what he is in the regular season as opposed to what he's been, which is like 40%, that can tilt the scales in the Yankees' favor really quick. Giancarlo Stanton, like I said, that postseason hero, that top-tier postseason legend, can help with the Hall of Fame case. Anthony Rizzo, a guy who is a very fringe, low-end Hall of Fame possibility. He helped the Cubs break a very long World Series drought. If he can hit for a 400-ish average again and help the Yankees win a championship, that will help his career as well. So there's a lot of legacy here at stake. Dave Roberts as well. 4th pennant, 1 World Series championship. He's lost 2 World Series. So like I said, with Mookie Betts winning an 162 game season World Series, I think that's a big feather in Dave Roberts' cap as well as he tries to build a Hall of Fame managerial career. So there's a lot of legacy on the line here in the Fall Classic. And I just hope we have a competitive series. That's all I'm hoping for. I want this series to live up to my expectations, which is competitive baseball with stars all over the place. I know a lot of people are thinking that this could be the best World Series ever. I think it has the potential to be, but I just want to see competitive baseball. Not blowouts back and forth, not a sweep, competitive baseball. And I think the Yankees will give the Dodgers that, if not, win the whole damn thing themselves. Here at the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, we have to throw it back down the third base line to this date in baseball history. And October 24th had a ton of amazing moments in baseball history. Take Me Out to the Ball Game was coined by Bill Murray, not the one you're thinking of, in 1908. So that song was introduced on this day in 1908. There were a bunch of different Hall of Fame big moments, whether that be Joe DiMaggio winning his first MVP award on this date, Sandy Koufax winning the first ever unanimous Cy Young Award on this date, as well as postseason moments. Many World Series moments happened on this day. But the one that I want to focus in on is Pablo Sandoval. Hit 3 home runs, the 4th player ever to do that in a World Series game on this date in 2014. I remember that game like it was yesterday. Pablo Sandoval is a very controversial character over here in the New England area, but to just see that kind of dominance from a player in a game, it's the most recent it's happened. Albert Pujols obviously did it in 2011, and there was a couple others in the past, but seeing that kind of level of dominance, that's what I'm hoping to see in this World Series. I'm hoping to see something that you don't see every World Series from one of these players. And both teams have a third of the lineup at least that can provide those moments, if not more. So I'm just really excited. And that Pablo Sandoval game, it's still memorable to me to this day. And I'm just hoping for those memorable moments this time in the World Series. So for all of you that are out there on social media, whether you're Guardians and Mets fans or just haters of the Dodgers and or Yankees, just sit back and enjoy the show. If you're truly a baseball fan, even the most casual of baseball fan, you're not going to regret sitting down and watching this World Series because, like I said, Shohei Ohtani is the player you are most likely to tell your kids and grandkids that you got to see play. Aaron Judge is pretty high on that list as well. And there's a lot of other great players on both sides that will be inducted in Cooperstown down the road and remembered by fan bases forever. Appreciate you for spending part of your week with me. Some last minute World Series just takes and previews. I wanted to wait until I had a better idea about players' health, as well as, just getting through the schedule of life and dropping this here. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and share this podcast with a friend who loves baseball as much as us. Enjoy the World Series. Starts this weekend, Friday night. Tonight will be game 1, and it's just going to be really, really can't miss baseball. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.